All right, this is Week 9 NFL season. We got a lot to talk about. First and foremost, I was incorrect last episode when I said Pete Carroll was never head coach of the Jets. Over our weekend from work, McLovin texted me and said he was head coach of the Jets. I Wikipedia'd it, which I had done before, but apparently I went to the wrong article, which gave me the wrong information. So he was correct. Not only was he the head coach of the Jets, before that he was the defensive coordinator, I think, of the Jets, or something.
Yeah.
So I apologize there. McLovin has one on me as far as that goes. Let's go right on into the... Oh, before we go into this is important. I'm going to start this off at the beginning of the video. And for those of you who do not watch the first 3 minutes of this video, and all you do is throw your picks on there, you're going to be disqualified because you're not going to have any idea what I'm talking about. This is going to show who the hell watches the video and who doesn't. I've let it go so far this year, but I'm going to stop. You have to get your picks in on Thursday. No more Thursday game, and then you'll send your picks in before Sunday. The problem is, on Sunday, YouTube doesn't give me a time when you throw your picks in. They just do it by the number of days. So theoretically, you could throw your picks in at 6 o'clock on a Sunday, be 100% correct. None of you have done that, by the way, but it's still possible, and then all YouTube will say is you commented 3 days ago. So the picks have to be in on Thursday, okay? I'm starting off this video real quick, explaining this. This should not be a problem. If anybody has a problem when they go 0-16 next week, or whatever, 1-15 if you get Thursday's game right, I'm not going to even comment to you in the comment section. This is going to see how many of you actually watch this video. So, and don't tell me, oh, it's a long video, it's 42 minutes to an hour, I couldn't sit through everything. It's in the first 5 minutes, so you can't use that excuse. Anyway, let's go right on into the news. And Packers, let's see here. Colts have not been what Frank Gore expected when he signed in 2015. Frank Gore thought he was joining a Colts team on the verge of the Super Bowl, but his 3 seasons in Indy will likely see no postseason play.
Well, he was right. In 2015, they had a uprising star at quarterback. They had a decent defense, not great, but they had T.Y. Hilton. They had some other receivers I can't think of right now, and then they had a guy like Frank Gore. Now, Frank Gore, unfortunately, is the only one that gives a shit on that Indianapolis team. He's a guy that is a Hall of Famer. All he knows his whole life was football, and football is something that means the world to him, and he's still playing hard. But obviously, the other players on their team, their head coach, they're in sad state of affairs, and Gore's right. Gore's a guy that has always been there, a guy that plays when he's hurt, a guy that keeps his mouth shut and plays football. Frank Gore is a legend as far as I'm concerned. I have a good relationship with Frank Gore, and he's not a guy that goes out and buys stupid shit. He's a guy that plays football. He was growing up, he had a learning disability. He still has social anxiety, so you never see him do any interviews or anything like that. But when he does speak, he means it. And unfortunately, while his season's coming, his career is coming to an end. The Indianapolis's season really never got off to a start at all, and now they're just playing the season out, and maybe be spoilers, but it's too bad because Frank Gore is a great football player and he's on a bad football team.
All right, so there's a couple of blockbuster trades. We'll go into them one by one. But this says Jay Ajayi trade shows Eagles seizing the moment. With a 7-1 record and a wide-open NFC, the Eagles have pushed more of their chips onto the table for this season.
No, it's a great trade. Jay Ajayi is, when right, a top 10, top 12 back in the league. He's definitely going to add a lot to that team, and they've shored up the running game. Obviously losing Peters, their left tackle, who's all pro every year, is going to be it's going to hurt them. But now having Ajayi and Garrett Blunt and Smallwood, and they have a number of different backs they can throw out there. And I think this is a huge signing. What a huge trade for a fourth rounder. You know, Miami is just getting worse. I don't know why they saw value in a fourth rounder for Jay Ajayi, who's clearly better than that. Maybe I didn't even read into the contract. Maybe it was a contract issue or something like that. But anyway, this was, you know, if not the best pickup. The Kelvin Benjamin might have been better for the Bills, but you know, it's definitely going to add to a Philly team who's 7-1 and you know is really looking like the best team in the NFC. You know, they still have 2 games against Dallas. We'll see if Ezekiel will be playing, but you know. With all that being said, you know, they have Wentz, who is playing like an MVP. Everything's going right, and you know, for Philly fans out there, they're just they're just waiting for the other shoe to drop to see when this is going to blow up. But you know, adding another you know guy like Jay Ajayi is definitely going to help them out immensely.
Bills not releasing rights for wide receiver Anquan Boldin. The NFL trade deadline passed. Bills general manager says he won't release the rights to receiver Anquan Boldin.
You know, Anquan Boldin's a guy that, you know, some teams don't like to do. They don't like to give up the rights. And Anquan Boldin's a good player, and, you know, he's that good where if he does come back to you, the team doesn't want to give him up. So it's unfortunate.
Redskins add veteran Arthur Jones to help ailing defensive line. With their defensive line depth needing a boost, the Redskins are bringing in veteran Arthur Jones, who is expected to help in their nickel package.
Yeah, he's a good player. You know, he's a veteran for sure. And, you know, that Washington defense is really, you know, the whole team has been battered by injuries. And, you know, this is a guy that can definitely help them out in specific situations. You know, we'll see what happens. But, you know, Washington, you know, has a long road to go. Even to, you know, their focus right now is just on a wild card because it looks like Philly's going to run away with that division. But, you know, Kirk Cousins, you know, when he's counted out, he always plays better. You know, their offensive line took a couple huge hits a couple weeks ago. They still have decent. You have Norman in the secondary, who's still pretty good. The linebackers are all right. And, you know, overall the defense is decent. If everyone was healthy, they'd be a lot better.
Penalties and belief in Ahkello Witherspoon led to Rashard Robinson trade. 2016 fourth-round pick Rashard Robinson is heading to the Jets as the 49ers shift their focus onto cornerback Ahkello Witherspoon.
Yeah, I didn't really read much into this trade here. Anytime you get traded to the Jets, you know you're a bad football player. But, you know, we'll see what happens. I think the Jets, you know, this is one of those under-the-radar type things that no one's really going to talk about. So, you know, he's on a new team, you know, a new place. You know, we'll see if he can improve. So we'll see what happens with that trade going down in the future.
Is making Brock Osweiler the starting quarterback the right call for the Broncos? Is Brock Osweiler the better option at quarterback than Trevor Siemian at this point? And does this change help the Broncos' chances to make the playoffs?
Well, the way I look at it is that can he be any worse? And probably not. I mean, Brock Osweiler, you know, in the past year and a half has really had a whirlwind of you know, good things, and then it's all been downhill, you know, with his release and his benching to getting cut by Cleveland and, you know, now re-signing, you know, before the year with Denver, whose offense is, you know, anemic at best right now. They're not getting much at any quarterback. They thought they could, you know, their defense would be good enough to carry them, and unfortunately, their defense isn't that good to carry an offense, which is very, very poor. They're getting away from what they did well in the past, which was running the ball, and they still have some, you know, big-time receivers. Their defense just really, they have a lot of stars in that defense, but you know, they're getting older, and you know, I think Denver, unfortunately, is, you know, not going to be a playoff team. They're in the West. They have 2 clearly better teams that are above them, in Oakland and obviously Kansas City. So, you know, look, I don't like Denver. I never have. I never will. I have a rooting interest for them just because of their head coach, and I know him, VJ. So we'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, you know, neither of those quarterbacks are going to do the job and get them to win football games.
Ex-Niner Hoyer rejoins Pats as Brady's backup. New England has picked up veteran quarterback Brian Hoyer, who was released by the 49ers after San Francisco acquired Jimmy Garoppolo from the Patriots on Tuesday. Now, as far as this Garoppolo trade, McLovin was the first one to break it to me. I was in the middle of playing Assassin's Creed Origins, and I'm still in the middle of. And he says, I said, did you hear? And I was quoting something about the game, an inside joke. And he goes, yeah, Garoppolo was traded, and I thought he was fucking with me. So he wasn't. And we were sitting there, and we were talking about this, and we were saying, I was saying something had to have happened. Number one, for them to trade him. Number two, for the fact that they only got a second-round pick, when a lot of NFL a lot of NFL people in the industry thought that he was going to command at least a first-round pick and maybe a third-round pick in the beginning of last offseason. So it ends up coming out that they knew they weren't going to be able to re-sign him, and so they traded for what they could get for him at this point. And San Francisco's lucky as hell. Now, there's also news that, Kyle Shanahan says that he may not even play this year. And it makes sense, because why would you're going to franchise him next year anyway, probably.
Well, no, you finish.
Well, I mean, they're 0-8, so there's no sense in them. There's no sense in them playing him to win games to screw up their draft position.
Yeah, look, that the coaches don't care about draft. I mean, I think he'll play. He'll play sometime this season. We started this debate, or not debate, but last year we all knew Jimmy was going into his contract year, and I was saying, you got to trade him now and get what you can for him. And they, the inner works of the Patriots felt as though they could re-sign him at the end of the year, where they didn't have to franchise him. Come mid-season, those thoughts were all but doubtful, and they traded him to San Francisco for a virtual first-round. I mean, it's mid-30s, so it's virtually a first-round pick, even though it's a second-round pick. I think of the first and the second round as all guys that could be drafted in the first round. So, but with that being said, you got to think of the other side of the pillow, which, if they go the whole season and they don't re-sign him, they don't get anything for him. So, on that end, you got to get something for him. They got good quality for him. And on the other side, this is a guy who's going to command a lot of money. And, they can't have a backup quarterback make more money in 1 year than a starter quarterback when your starter is Tom Brady. So if they were even indeed to tag him, he would make more money per year than Brady would. And if they were to re-sign him, everyone's re-signing off of Matt Stafford's $32 million a year contract, which is absurd because Matt Stafford sucks. And he's making the most money out of anybody in the NFL. So the thing with NFL contracts, it's not how good you are, it's where you are in 2018. Ask Brock Osweiler. He got his money. Was he was any good? Obviously not. So the thinking that, Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to get paid as much as Tom Brady, he would get paid more than Tom Brady. And that's just because it's 2018. It's what you're basing your contract off the market. So you're basing your contract off the last two guys that signed big deals: Matt Stafford, Derek Carr, who's making $30 million a year. These guys they're good. I mean, but they're not great quarterbacks. Where you have a guy like Tom Brady who continues to take a $1.5 million hit here, $2 million there to reduce his overall contract so he can make space for other players on the team. And you can't have a backup make more than your starter, especially when your starter is Tom Brady. So what the writing on the wall says is they signed Brian Hoyer. I think he was there from 2009 to 2011, I believe. He's terrible. There's really not much to say. He's terrible. He's horrible. And the one thing that the Pats had was if Tom Brady went down and they had Jimmy, that they could come in and they knew he could win games for him. But at the same time, even though you can't play for just 6 months because if Brady goes down, they're in a heap of trouble. And the worst thing, then Hoyer, Can they still win with a Hoyer? Maybe, but not win a Super Bowl with Hoyer. So, you know, they made their decision back in the summertime, and now they have to really make a final decision here on the trading deadline. And you know, we'll see what happens. And you know, now everyone really has to be concerned about every time Brady gets hit, because if he goes down, sayonara everything.
What's reasonable to expect from Tamba Hali? Tamba Hali is set to make his return, and the Chiefs hope that with fresh legs and limited usage, he can provide a boost to the pass rush.
Mm-hmm. Tamba Hali has been a mainstay down in Kansas City. I remember he came out of the draft in 2006. I think he was 10th or 11th or 12th overall, and he was a straight pass rusher. And you know, until he got knocked around, he was one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, consistently year by year. Was a 4-down lineman, could play against the run and the pass. This is a guy that, you know, has a boatload of talent. Obviously, his best years are behind him, but you know, anytime you can add a guy like that, that's like adding somebody off of free agency or via trade midway through the year. So, you know, Tamba Hali is a great player. You know, he's a good guy, and you know, it's only going to help Kansas City.
A lot of good stuff going on with Sean McVay's Rams. The Rams are off to the best start in 14 years. Their challenge now is to block out the noise, maintain their edge, and basically...
Well, you know, they're going to have to deal with Seattle. You know, the Los Angeles Rams have been a pleasant surprise. They got good young talent on the offensive side of the ball. Their defensive line is very underrated. McVay's done a hell of a job down there. You got to give him a lot of credit. They're beating the teams that they should beat, and that's what you have to do to win in the NFL, is beat the teams that you should beat, and try to win a game or two that you're not supposed to win. Like they went on the road and beat Dallas, and they weren't expected to win that game. So, you know, and they just, you know, dominated. Who they beat? Did they have a bye week last week? I think they had a bye week last week, but 2 weeks ago they pissed all over Arizona over in London. So, you know, he's probably up for Coach of the Year. Even though the LA Rams, no one is really going underneath the radar, because the Los Angeles has, you know, the second biggest market in the entire country, but you know, having, you know, two teams down there that one of them no one really cares about, and the LA Rams are still playing in the dump. So we'll see what happens, but I think they'll be good going forward.
Stephen A. sounds off on athlete softness. Stephen A. Smith says it is getting old watching athletes across all sports storming out of press conferences and pounding on the bench because of their sensitivity.
I don't usually tend to agree with Stephen A. Smith ever, but I have to agree with him. You know, this day and age, the athlete has everything. They have the money, they have the endorsements, and when it comes to doing their job, they don't always fulfill that. You know, they sign a contract that says you have to talk to the media after the game for X amount. If you're the starting quarterback, you have to sit there, whether it's a win or a loss, or you threw the last interception to lose the game in the Super Bowl, whatever. You may be, you know, upset, you may be angry, you may be all that stuff, but you're getting paid millions and millions of dollars, which means that win or lose or tie, you have to stand up there and talk to the media. You can't walk out like a baby. You just can't. And the people who say this are 100% correct, because these athletes are put in whether they want to be role models or not, or whether they want to talk to the media or not, they have to, because that's what's in their contract. Win or lose, you have to stand up there. And Cam Newton is, I hate Cam Newton so much with you know, he's treated like a baby, and then, you know, then he says, oh, they pick on me because I'm this and I'm that, because I'm a big, strong quarterback, or I'm black and Black Lives Matter, all this other garbage. You know, all these players, you know, the Marshawn Lynch, who would take the $50,000 penalty for not talking to the media, which doesn't make any sense, you know. So these athletes these days, you know, they have no idea what it was like to be an athlete in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, where these guys had jobs other than, you know, football or baseball or basketball. And talking to the media should be the easy part, whether you win or you lose. And I agree with Stephen A. Smith. I think a lot of these guys are soft. I think kids these days are soft. They're just soft. It's, you know, don't get hurt. Don't pitch more than 5 innings. We have on your pitch count. You know, whether it's, don't hurt me, the quarterback, don't touch me, I don't want to talk to anybody, I don't want to talk to the media, it's just, it's going off, and these guys are just going to be getting paid more and more and more and more and more money. They should expect to be men and stand up and show something for what the money that they're getting paid for.
Taylor Decker returns to practice, and the Lions really, really need him. The Lions' offensive line has struggled without their starting left tackle, ranking near the bottom of the league in sacks allowed and rushing offense.
Not only is sacks allowed, but I watched that game against Pittsburgh, and their running game is terrible. They're just terrible. Amir Abdullah is, he's a great talent, but Detroit is overrated. Detroit sucks. Okay, they suck. They're at home. They had a chance to really, win a big game against an AFC, the second or third best team in the AFC, and they blew it. They had 5 chances inside the red zone, and they only kicked 5 field goals. Matt Stafford is not a winner. He's not a leader. They're never going to win with him as a quarterback. He's just not strong enough mentally, physically. He has a great arm, but the team drops so many passes, and they have some good running backs. It's just their offensive line is absolute garbage. And, I think Detroit's going to be Detroit at the end of the year.
Clowney says costume wasn't dig at McNair. Jadeveon Clowney says his orange jumpsuit Halloween costume was not a dig at Texans owner Bob McNair for his, quote, "we can't have the inmates running the prison" comment.
Sure it was. But, look, Clowney, he's a guy that needs to shut up and play football. I mean, this is a guy who is, it was a unanimous number 1 overall pick a couple of years ago, and the guy just can't stand the field. He's got the world by the you-know-what, and he has got the talent, more talent than, a lot of people that play defensive end. You look at a guy like, what's his guy? He used to play for the Pats, the white guy who retired.
Rob Ninkovich.
Rob Ninkovich, okay? Here's a guy like Rob Ninkovich who is a no-name guy, plays no-name college football, walks onto the team, is a special teamer, and then becomes a defensive end and gets, 8.5, 9, 10 sacks a year when he was playing. Then you got a guy like Javarius Clowney, or whatever the fuck his name is. He's got the world handed to him, and he can't stand the field because he's fragile. So look, the guy just needs to shut up and play football.
Dolphins Evan Gase says Jay Ajayi trade part of long-term plan. The Jay Ajayi trade could just be the first part of an overhaul of the Dolphins' offense.
First of all, the Dolphins, look, they played Matt Moore last week, okay? And I think I've seen a lot of bad quarterbacks, but Matt Moore is absolutely horrific. Horrific, as Andy would say. Horrific. They're terrible. I don't know how getting rid of your best offensive player, or maybe second best with Landry, is what you look to do in the future. Look, I don't know if the entire team is snorting coke down there, because this is a team who was down 17-0 to Atlanta and found a way to come back and win. And they played an awful Baltimore team, and they just got their clocks clean. It wasn't even close. They weren't even close to even kicking a field goal. Miami's in a lot of hurt. They're for a team. I think they're still 4-3, right? That's sad. I don't know what's going on down in Miami, but the fact of the matter is there had to be an underlying issue with Jay Ajayi, because you don't trade your star running back for a 4th rounder. You just don't. I don't care who's calling the shots down there. He must have said something or done something, but we won't know that. But Miami, I want to know what their long term. What is their long term? They're gonna have Matt Moore or Jay Cutler, or if whatever name comes back, the kid from Texas A&M. Tannehill come back, a guy that they gave a bunch of money to, who's been hurt, who's not a winner. Look, Miami, they have decent amount of talent to compete in the NFL, and when you're just sneaking out wins against the Jets, and just getting clobbered by Baltimore, that was just obscene. They got a long way to go, but I don't see any value in trading in their best running back.
So Russell Shepard says Benjamin trade surprise the Panthers. Panthers wide receiver Russell Shepard says the trade of wide receiver Kelvin Benjamin to the Bills shows that the NFL is a business, and quote, some decisions come from left field.
Well, you gotta with the background, of it, Brandon Beane, who is now the GM of the Bills, was the GM with assistant GM with Carolina, and he was heavily involved in drafting Benjamin. I think it was back in 2013 or 14 or whatever. Calvin Benjamin, his first year, I think he had like 73 catches for like 1,400 yards, and then he went down with an ACL, missed a full year. Came back, didn't really play that second year because he was still injured. This year he's had, I think, 3 or 4 touchdowns. He's been Newton's number one guy. But, it's just like everything else, all about relationships in the NFL. I mean, the Carolina would not, trade him to any other team in the NFL. They sure wouldn't trade him to any other team in the NFC, so they turn around and trade him to a guy, a team in the AFC to help out, former Carolina Panther. And I think this was the biggest acquisition by anybody. This is a guy who is bigger, stronger, faster than a lot of those corners out there. He's 6'4", 6'5". Tyrod Taylor now actually has a wide receiver to throw to. If you look at the wide receivers on their team, I don't even know any of those guys. I mean, it's just no name after no name after no name, but they're sitting there 5-2 because they have LaShawn McCoy, and their running backs have actually caught more balls this entire year combined than their wide receivers. So, I think Buffalo is a team that's just they're never gonna blow anybody out. They're just gonna grind people down with their defense. And now that they have a deep threat in Benjamin, I think, like I said, I think this is gonna be the best trade of the offseason or the trade deadline.
So this is interesting. Hoyer deal shows confidence Pats have in Brady. Adam Schefter of ESPN says that with the Patriots giving Brian Hoyer, I don't know if you knew this.
3 years.
Yeah, you did know it. 3-year deal. It shows the confidence they have in Tom Brady to perform at a high level moving forward.
Well, he has to. Now there's no gray area anymore. It's either Brady's there or they're in a boatload of trouble. And you gotta think that Hoyer is. I don't know. If Brady goes down, I don't know what they're going to do. I honestly don't know what they're going to do because Hoyer, the team is going to learn pretty quick that Hoyer is terrible if they don't know that already. You're definitely going to see them draft a guy, maybe with that second round pick, and a quarterback. They're going to for sure draft at least one quarterback this draft because you can't rely on Brian Hoyer ever in a million years against the Rhode Island School for the Blind or the sister school for nurses or whatever, But look, they made their decision. I think as far as knowing a guy, like Belichick, he's probably forgot about this whole thing and they're moving on. And they have a bye week, and Chris Hogan is injured, which I think those are more things that we have to worry about than Brian Hoyer, who this talk we're not going to mention his name at all for the rest of the season unless he's in, and everyone's going to be starstruck by the time that happens, and people are going to be, expecting things from Brian Hoyer he can't deliver.
McAdoo, quote, no excuses for players returning late after bye week. Giants coach Ben McAdoo says he gave the players 5 days off during the bye week and expected everyone to return on time. This is about Janoris Jenkins.
Yeah, Jackrabbit.
Yeah.
Look, back to what Stephen A. Smith said. These guys are big babies. Their feelings are hurt, or they're not treated right, or the team is garbage, and I want to give up, and all this other stuff. They got now. He's suspended. Rogers Cromartie is suspended. They've lost their 2 best receivers. Their defense is terrible. Their offensive line is even worse.
But Matt Schilling's sitting there screaming, football!
I think Schilling's given up on the season. He has to, because there's no... Look, all the Giants fans out there, they're such great winners, and, you don't hear a peep from them now, and, you know, I'm surprised because they're not even making excuses. That's how I mean, they're smart football fans, but look, this season is only getting longer. And if your guys just don't show up and say, look, I had 5 days off on the day we're supposed to do back, I'm just not going to show up. But I mean, look, he's lucky he still has a job, you know? He'd be fine in the industry that we work in, you know? Yeah, that's all I have to say about
Sure. McKinley defies Twitter poll for new hair color. Falcons rookie defensive end Takk McKinley says 63% of his Twitter followers wanted him to change his hair color to red. He rebelled and made it turquoise.
This is a guy who I don't even know. But at the same time, the Falcons suck. Their defense sucks. The last thing this guy should be doing is on Twitter talking about his hair. He's got to get in the film room. He's got to, you know, look, these guys, they just don't understand. It's not always their fault, you know, and I understand that he's a rookie and, you know, football's not his life, but it should be his life, especially when you're a rookie because, you know, your second contract is where, if you make it to your second contract, that's where you get paid. So if this guy wants to, you know, play for himself or whatever, or play for a team that's terrible, then you better, you know, get his ass in gear and get off Twitter about his stupid hair color.
Pats O-line coach Dante Scarnecchia, quote, "We should protect our quarterback better." Longtime Patriots offensive line coach Dante Scarnecchia says neither he nor the head coach is happy with the pass protection, but it's trending up.
Yeah, look, they don't have any. I mean, the Patriots, you know, their offensive line is not any star-studded, you know, anybody. They're just a bunch of guys that, you know, like to play football. Now, that being said, Brady has been hit way too many times. He's been sacked way too many times. The offensive line is very good in the run game. I have to give them that. But, you know, now that they know that, you know, Tom is, look, he's skating on ice back there. And I just hope and pray to God that once they did this trade that, you know, the first play next, you know, against is going to be, you know, that's just the way it always happens. You know, that's just the way it always happens is something like that. So, you know, I think Scarnecchia is smart enough. I know Belichick's smart enough to, you know, protect Brady.
Chargers defense welcomes back Denzel Perryman next week. The Chargers are looking forward to having Denzel Perryman back after the linebacker spent the first half of the season on injured reserve.
Well, anytime you can get a linebacker back, that's good. Well, you know, we'll see how well he can play.
Newton doesn't want to discuss Benjamin trade. Panthers quarterback Cam Newton understands that trades are part of the job and tells the media that he doesn't want to keep answering questions about the Kelvin Benjamin trade.
I hate Cameron.
Let's see what else we got. Okay. Telvin Smith's extension similar to previous Jaguars free agent contracts. The structure of Telvin Smith's contract extension gives the Jaguars some flexibility beyond the 2018 season.
Yeah, they just signed another linebacker too for like the same contract. You know, hey Jacksonville, you gotta give them a lot of credit. I mean, nobody was figuring Jacksonville to be in the mix, and everyone was telling us that Blake Bortles was done, and you know, I was one of them. Now they have. You know, their defense is playing a lot better. Their offense is playing better. They're right there. And they have a great shot at winning that AFC South. I mean, I think it's going to, you know, with Houston, I think Houston's going to eventually win it. But you got to, Jacksonville's a team that's going to play 4 quarters every game. They have a good head coach, a very underrated head coach. And what's the guy? The guy who used to coach for Buffalo there. You know, I think adding long, you know, this is kind of like what New England did back in the day when they would re-sign guys like McCourty and got all these other guys that were decent at the time, but they knew they were going to be better. So, you know, kudos to Sean Coughlin in Jacksonville.
As Raiders search for mojo, they are, quote, running out of time. With only half the season remaining, the Raiders know they are running out of time to dig out of the 3-5 hole that they created for themselves.
At least, yeah, they look, anytime the quarterback breaks his back, and you know, and Carr is a tough bastard, and they have so much talent on that offensive side of the ball. I mean, they really haven't. I mean, they get stomped by Buffalo. I mean, I thought for sure Oakland was going to give that. It was going to be a close game, but Oakland's knows what they have to do. They're probably going to have to finish. So they're 3-5. So they're probably going to have to finish. like 7-1, or 8-1, 8-2. What do they have?
Well, no, they're 3-5. There's 8 games left.
Games, so
they have
7-1.
They have to go 7-1 or 6-2 at the worst.
6-2 at the worst. 6-2 is not going to get them in. So 7-1.
That time, Rex Ryan begged the Jets to trade for Tyrod Taylor. Ex-Jets coach Rex Ryan said he wanted the team to trade for then Ravens reserve quarterback Tyrod Taylor, but the Jets front office wasn't keen on the idea.
Well, the Jets front office, they're not keen on anything because they suck. I mean, we talked about it last week that, they don't consider wins and losses, something that's important when you judge a head coach, So as long as they keep that mentality, they're always going to suck.
Brian Hoyer's a steady hand. He knows the Patriots' offense, but he also knows his 3-year deal doesn't mean he will play out the contract. I doubt he will. Let's see what else we got going down. Stephen A. and Max agree Osweiler should start for Broncos. Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman explain why Denver is making the right move by taking the ball from Trevor Siemian and giving Brock Osweiler a chance to start. David Johnson unsure he'll return this season. Arizona Cardinals running back David Johnson says he's unsure if he'll be able to return the season from a fractured wrist. And what else we got here? I think that might do it. Let's just see. Stephen A. Smith says everybody needs to go after Cleveland botched the trade with the Bengals for quarterback A.J. McCarron. Did you hear about this?
No.
You didn't hear this? All right, so Cincinnati was going to send A.J. McCarron to Cleveland for like 3 picks or something like that. And Cleveland didn't notify the league in time. They notified him at like 4:06 p.m. 6 minutes after the deadline ended. And so the league said no deal. And Cleveland begged them, and the league said no. And Marvin Lewis is happy because he was excited as hell the deal didn't go down because he really loves A.J. McCarron. So not only can Cleveland not win a game, they can't even get a trade in the deadline. So I think it's the first time I've ever heard of something like that.
They were doing the trade. Remember, I think it was 4 years ago that they traded a first-round pick for the running back from Indianapolis, Richardson.
Yeah. Sheldon?
No.
Trent
Richardson.
Trent Richardson.
They gave up a first-round pick for him.
So here's the deal. All right, this is an interesting article written by Jordan Renan. He's an ESPN staff writer. Ben McAdoo believes he still has control of Giants despite suspensions. Coach Ben McAdoo still believes he has control of the New York Giants locker room despite having 3 players miss Monday's practice following the bye week and having to suspend cornerback Janoris Jenkins for a violation of team rules. Jenkins is the second veteran cornerback suspended in a 3-week stretch. Quote, I'm not concerned about perception, McAdoo said of the idea he has lost respect of his players. Quote, I'm concerned about reality. To turn your cheek to something that needs to be handled for disciplinary reasons because you're worried about perception isn't a smart thing to do. So I'm not concerned about perception. The reality is the Giants 1-6 are one of the league's worst teams. They're also the only team that has been forced to suspend a pair of players, supposed veteran leaders no less in recent weeks. Cornerback Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie was banned following a Week 5 loss to the Chargers. McAdoo admitted earlier this week that as head coach, everything falls on his shoulders. Jenkins not making it back on time for practice Monday, not even providing the team with a reason until the following day, but certainly seemed to qualify as well. Quote, I don't take it personal, McAdoo said. Quote, you can't take things personally in this business. You have to take them on a case-by-case basis. Still, it's 2 suspensions in 3 weeks for a team that sits in last in its division. It's not exactly a glowing review of this 2017 campaign for McAdoo or the Giants. Quote, that's not something that's going into the season I'd ever thought I'd have to do, he said. Quote, but the decision was made and it had to be done. McAdoo viewed the suspensions as a coincidence. He considered them isolated incidents. His players had his back on Wednesday afternoon. Quote, nah, he hasn't lost the team, All-Pro safety Landon Collins said. Quote, we are all still spoke Coach McAdoo. The suspensions are 2 different things. Quote, guys are still coming to meetings on time. They're still understanding his message towards the team and what he's trying to do. I would say he still has the respect. When you see guys not wearing team stuff properly or not being where they are supposed to be, then that is being disrespectful. That is when you lost the team. Guys are not doing that. 3 players are missing from Giants practice on Monday following their bye week. Running back Paul Perkins and cornerbacks Eli Apple and Jenkins didn't make it back on time. Perkins and Apple communicated with the team. Jenkins did not. Jenkins earned a suspension for violation of team rules, while Apple and Perkins were also disciplined, likely in the form of a fine. The Giants weren't happy with any of them missing Monday's workout. Quote, the players had 5 days off. I communicated to the players in our team meeting Wednesday. I didn't have to give them 5 days off. I chose to give the players 5 days off because I felt we needed to get away from it, Coach Ben McAdoo said. Quote, that's important at this time of year at the midpoint in the bye week. With that, I expected all the players to be here to ready to go Monday morning. Quote, no excuses. The Giants players seem to understand McAdoo's decision to suspend their Pro Bowl cornerback, even if it won't help the team when they face the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday at MetLife Stadium. Quote, Jackrabbit, love him to death, but he broke a team rule. He violated something, and ever since I was young, when you break a rule and get caught, there are consequences, defensive captain Jonathan Casillas said. Quote, his consequence is a suspension. I don't like it. I want him here, but at the end of the day, he did break a team rule. It's not like he didn't do anything or that he was late. Quote, it was kind of inexcusable. Whether I support Ben McAdoo or not, he's the head coach. He's doing what he thinks is best for the team. Casillas added that these kinds of things happened when he was in New England under Bill Belichick. Players were late. He didn't, however, say they were suspended, nevertheless, twice in 3 weeks. Both Rogers, Cromartie, and Casillas said they had been in contact with Jenkins. Neither defended his actions and thought he could have handled the situation better. It was his lack of communication with the Giants that really seemed to stand out. The Giants didn't hear from Jenkins until he returned on Tuesday. But McAdoo originally called Jenkins' absence excused on Monday without ever having heard from him. Quote, again, until I have all the facts, I need to protect the players, McAdoo said, of not being honest about the situation. When he received the facts, he suspended Jenkins indefinitely. It will cost the cornerback $758,824 per week. McAdoo addressed the suspension with his team on Wednesday. Quote, the standards are the standards, McAdoo said. Quote, the win-loss record doesn't change it. Your feelings don't change it. Travel plans don't change it. The standards are the standards, and they're going to stay high, and we're going to hold each other accountable. Rogers Cromartie took the message well. Quote, at the end of the day, we're professionals, he said. Quote, we have to act like it. What do you think there?
I think that's pretty much a lot, how I commented early. It's New York. Everything's going to be magnified about 1 million times in any other team. The fact of the matter is they're 1-6 or 1-7, whatever they are.
1-6, yeah.
1-6, so that's really all that counts.
All right, so here's the deal. I'm going to go into this. I mentioned in the beginning of the video that you got to get your picks in on Thursday, no excuses. But also, if I don't read your name out, it means you did not beat McLovin. So a lot of guys are commenting, with their record. The record doesn't mean anything. The only time the record means anything with your picks is if you end up beating McLovin. That's how you win a gift card. Nobody beat McLovin last week. Somebody tied him, though. Blake Rios tied him. But other than that, nobody beat him. So nobody wins.
Well, there's one positive.
Yeah. So
one positive thing that's going for me.
So let's go to Thursday's games. We're going to go. Before we go to Thursday's games. So last week against the spread, I went 6-6-1. McLovin went 8-4-1. So the season standings there, McLovin is 56-60-3, and I am 53-63-3. So I'm 3 games behind McLovin against the spread. And then for the picks, I went 9-4. McLovin went 12-1. So I am 68-51. McLovin is 76-43. He has an 8-game lead over me right now. Now, if we go into the standings in Division 1, Yes went 11-2. Steve Goldman went 9-4. Vaddix 8-5. Dan McLean 8-5. Levmaker 10-3. CV Gunn 8-5. And Cali Guy with a good week 10-3. So the standings for Division 1 are as follows. Dan McLean is 75-44. He is in first place. He's actually a game now behind McLovin overall. Second place, we have CV Gunn at 72-47. He's 3 games out. There's a tie for third between Yes to Anything That Is Cool Awesome and Levmaker at 70-49. They're 5 games out. In fifth place, Steve Goldman, 69-50, 6 games out. Sixth place, Vaddix, 68-51, 7 games out. And then last place, we have CV Gunn at 64-55. He's 11 games out. Now, in the second division between Dennis Ramirez, I think, and Blake Rios overtook first place. He's 12-1 last week. He's 48-24. Second place, Dennis Ramirez. He went 11-2. He's 42-30.
Blake Rios, 12-1.
Blake Rios, 12-1.
14-1 last week.
He was there wasn't 15 games last week. He won
2 weeks ago.
He might have been. Yeah, he was 14-1 2 weeks ago.
12-1.
12-1.
26-2 in his last.
In the last 3, and then the week before he went. Where is it here? Fuck. I think it was 11 and something. I can't find it. He went 10. He went. Wait a minute. He went. 14-1. Where the fuck? Am I missing something here?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm missing something. Because Blake Rios, 14-1, he was 36-23 at that point. But was that 17 and 14 is 31? I'm missing something. Something doesn't add up here. Oh, here we go. He went 5 and he went. Where is it? He was 17 and 13 at one point, tied for first, and then he went because he was 22 and 22. So what is that? 5 and 8, 5 and 9.
And then he went on a.
So then he went on a 20. Yeah, in the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
26 and 3.
Good for you.
26 and 2, I mean. All right, so he's in first, 48 and 24. Dennis is in second at 42 and 30. And then Jennifer, 9 and 4 last week. She's 39 and 33. Okay, so let's go into the games. We have Buffalo.
The first division people should be copying Blake Rios. Let Blake Rios make his picks and then copy off of him. Anytime you go 26 and 2, that's pretty damn good.
So Thursday's game, 8:25 game tomorrow night. Buffalo 5 and 2, 1 and 2 on the road against New York. 3 and 5, 2 and 2 at home. Buffalo on the road favored by 3.
Buffalo -3.
Okay, Buffalo -3. We agree. Next up, Sunday 1 o'clock. We have Baltimore 4 and 4, 2 and 2 on the road going into Tennessee, who's 4 and 3, 2 and 1 at home. No line.
Well, it's Tennessee -5.
All right, so we'll go off of that.
I'm taking Baltimore +5.
I'm going to take Tennessee -5. You have Baltimore +5. Joe Flacco should be playing. Tennessee -5. You have Baltimore +5. Okay. Next up, we have Tampa Bay 2 and 5, 0 and 3 on the road against New Orleans 5 and 2, 2 and 1 at home. New Orleans is favored at home by 7.
New Orleans -7.
And we agree. Los Angeles Rams 5 and 2, 3 and 0 on the road, going into New York to face the Giants 1 and 6, 0 and 3 at home. Rams are favored by 3.5.
It's a tough one. Rams -3.5.
Okay, I agree. Denver 3 and 4, 0 and 3 on the road, going into Philly to take on the Eagles 7 and 1, 4 and 0 at home. Philly's favored 8 by 8.5.
Philly -8.5.
Okay, I agree. Next up, we have Atlanta 4 and 3, 3 and 1 on the road, going into Carolina 5 and 3, 1 and 2 at home. Carolina favored by 1.
Carolina -1.
I agree. Cincinnati 3 and 4, 1 and 2 on the road, going into Jacksonville 4 and 3, 1 and 2 at home. Jacksonville favored by 5.
Cincinnati +5.
I agree. Indianapolis 2 and 6, 0 and 4 on the road, going into Houston 3 and 4, 2 and 2 at home. Houston -12.5.
Indianapolis +12.5.
And I'm taking Houston. Arizona 4-5 game. Arizona 3 and 4, 1 and 3 on the road, going into San Fran 0 and 8, 0 and 3 at home. Arizona favored by 2.
Jimmy Garoppolo brings them luck, and San Francisco wins their first game of the year.
I'm also. I don't know if
San
Garoppolo's
Francisco.
going to. I'm taking San Francisco as well.
He's not going to play, but
Sure.
he brings them luck.
Okay,
so
yeah.
San Francisco +2.
I agree. I also think they're going to beat Arizona. Washington 3 and 4, 1 and 2 on the road, going into Seattle 5 and 2, 3 and 0 at home. Seattle -7.5.
Washington +7.5.
Taking Seattle -7.5. All right, and then we got 4:25 game. Kansas City 6 and 2, 3 and 1 on the road, going into Dallas 4 and 3, 1 and 2 at home. Kansas City favored by 1.
Kansas City -1.
I agree. Wait, I had Seattle -7.5. You had who?
Washington.
Washington. I had San Francisco. You didn't have Houston. You had Indy. I got to write this down.
Yeah.
I'm doing it so we're even. Cincinnati +5.
Yeah.
You had them.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're good. All right, 8:30 Sunday night game. We have Oakland 3 and 5, 1 and 3 on the road, going into Miami 4 and 3, 2 and 1 at home. Oakland favored by 3.
Oakland -3.
I agree. And then Monday night's game, Detroit 3 and 4, 2 and 1 on the road, going into Green Bay 4 and 3, 3 and 1 at home. Detroit favored by 2.5.
Green Bay +2.5.
Taking Detroit.
They suck.
Yeah, but Green Bay doesn't have
Yeah,
fucking.
but they're at
what's
home.
his face?
It's Monday Night Football.
All right, so we're going right into picks. Let me get EDP on the line. Hold on 1 second.
I'm sorry.
Come on now.
What's poppin'?
Hey, what's up, man? Thanks for joining the show. I know we missed you last week. Schedules didn't work out, but we got you this week. Just to give you an updated standings, in the time you've been with us, you are, I wrote it down here, 22-38. So we gotta do better than 22-38. Get you back up there. So you're gonna start us off tomorrow night's game, Buffalo and New York. Who do you have? Buffalo's going into New York.
Is it the Jets or the Giants?
The Jets.
Jets. I'll take Buffalo.
All right, I'm also taking Buffalo. Who do you got?
Buffalo.
All right. And we got Baltimore going into Tennessee. Who do you got, EDP?
I'll take Tennessee.
Okay, I got Tennessee as well.
I'm taking Baltimore.
Okay, McLovin's taking Baltimore. Tampa Bay going into New Orleans. Who do you got, EDP?
New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Yep, we all agree there. Los Angeles Rams going into New York to face the Giants. Who do you got?
Rams and I'm taking the Rams. Shit.
Yep.
Rams.
All right, we agree. Denver going into Philly. This is the game of the week.
Broncos.
Philly.
I'm also taking Philly. Atlanta going into Carolina.
Hey man, every time I pick the fucking Eagles to win, man, they fucking lose.
I know. I was gonna say that. I didn't want to jinx anything for you.
Yeah, no, I like it.
Yeah.
What game were you talking about? I'm sorry.
Atlanta going into Carolina.
Oh, Atlanta. Carolina's been struggling lately. I don't know what the fuck is going on with that.
I'm taking Carolina.
I'm also taking Carolina. We got Cincinnati going into Jacksonville. Who do you got, EDP?
Oh man, I'm gonna take Jacksonville, dude.
Jacksonville.
I'm taking Cincy. EDP and McLovin of Jacksonville. Next up, Indianapolis going into Houston.
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 Yep, we all agree there. Arizona going into San Fran.
Arizona going to San Francisco? Oh, fuck. I'm going to take San Francisco. Fuck it.
Yeah, I think we all agree on that one. We think San Francisco's going to get its first win against Arizona, unless they throw the game on purpose. Washington going into Seattle. Who do you got?
Let's take Seattle.
Seattle.
Yep, we all agree there. Next up, Kansas City going into Dallas. Without what's his face? Without Ezekiel Elliott.
He's definitely not playing.
Correct. He's suspended. Yeah.
Dude, Kansas City's going to fuck them niggas up, man.
Kansas City.
Yep, we all agree there. Oakland against Miami. Who do you got? Oakland's going into Miami.
Oh, shit, Oakland.
Oakland.
We all agree there. And then the last game of the week, we got Detroit going into Green Bay. I have Detroit. Who do you got, EDP?
Detroit.
I got Green Bay.
All right, McLovin has Green Bay. As always, EDP, thanks for joining us on the show. We will see you next week. And any final thoughts for you?
Hell no, man. I'm just excited to see what the fuck that nigga Giant is going to fucking do.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. ESPN, all over ESPN, they're saying that you guys have the best running back tandem in the entire league, and it's just going to add more offensive depth for you because you can catch passes out of the backfield type shit. So we'll see.
That's a steal for a fourth rounder. That's highway robbery.
Yeah, I know, right? Fucking crazy.
All right, people on the bye this week. We got the Bears, Browns, Vikings, Pats, Steelers, and Chargers. And we're going to see what happens. Until next week, thanks, EDP, for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man.
All right, see ya.
All right, man. All right, guys, that's been week 9. Thanks for coming.